This isn't goodbye yet, this is just a heads up. This is a different kind of video that I'll be making this week, and we'll be back to the normal programming for next week. There are going to be some changes coming to this channel very soon, and I wanted to make sure that if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you are aware of what's going on, as well as my patrons. This is just some background, but on the professional side, I work as a cybersecurity project manager, and I'm also in the Army Reserves. International affairs has always been my first love in terms of subject matter. However, for reasons we won't get into, that career track just hasn't exactly developed. At least not yet, and I hope that someday in the future it will. I made this channel to research and discuss subjects that at least I thought was very interesting within international affairs, and hopefully you find those same things interesting. And I've been at this channel for a while now as well. In fact, it's been almost over 3 years. My first video to this channel was published in March of 2022, but I've consistently uploaded since about December of 2022. Before that, I had a channel that focused on cybersecurity education that was called StudioSec, and that's where I learned how to make videos and really where I fell in love with YouTube. I'm no longer posting there. I think that that's really served its purpose for me at least, and I hope that the videos that have been made there are still valuable for folks that are looking to learn at least what I publish there. However, what's happening here is I am moving into a new job at the beginning of August, and I won't really have the same ability to pour into these videos myself as I've had in the past. I'm very blessed to have this opportunity, but it is very much bittersweet. I do very much love working on this channel. It's like the first thing I'm thinking about just about every day, but I'm going to have to start outsourcing big elements of this channel to some other individuals, to kind of help out. And that includes outsourcing to an editor. I've edited pretty much all of my videos by myself. These are the videos that I have had done by my editor so far, and starting in August, pretty much all of my videos will be done by my editor. Honestly, he's better at editing than I am, so the only issue right now is both time and cost. I'm not about to ask for money. I'm just wanting to be transparent with you guys on what exactly I'm looking at on my end and what it takes to make these videos. But I basically make next to nothing from this channel. In fact, I'm at a significant deficit, and it's about to get a lot worse. I don't have sponsors or any other kind of ad revenue that comes in from this channel aside from the ad money that YouTube gives, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But the only real way that I can make money aside from the ad revenue from YouTube is through my Patreon. Because I don't really like to ask for money for nothing in return, I do create an exclusive newsletter that's just for patrons, so it's kind of a service for that. And it's modeled after an executive summary intelligence report format. Basically, I give my patrons my assessments on 5 different international affairs events from the previous week, as well as some predictions on what could be coming next for each topic. However, other than Patreon, the next best thing is the ad revenue from YouTube, which is typically not very much. In fact, in the last month, I've only made $8.90. And so far in 2025, I've made $241. I consider this channel to be a very fun hobby, and I would love for this to become a full-time job that can pay the bills so I can really just make more videos and continue to talk about this subject that I'm very passionate about. But unfortunately, it's just not there right now. It is, however, a very expensive hobby. This is a rough estimate, but I'm probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $8,000 that I've invested into this channel so far. Whether it's through equipment, I've bought my iPhone, my Mac, and my PC. I'm recording this video on my phone. I bought my Mac and then later my PC to upgrade what I'm editing on. And I'm also using different subscriptions like Streamlabs for interviews back whenever I was doing that, as well as live streams, and Storyblocks for B-roll, as well as a few other platforms that I found to be incredibly invaluable. Meanwhile, lifetime, and that's over the course of the previous 3 years on this channel has made just over $1,000 in ad revenue. I do have some absolutely incredible and generous patrons who help sustain the services that support the newsletter. However, I don't have enough folks on the Patreon that it's actually able to help sustain some of the other services that support these videos. Basically, that is to say that the Patreon is self-sustaining, which is fantastic. That's a great sign, but it's not to a point where it's sustaining this channel, and that's going to be a much larger hill to climb. So far, it has not been that big of an issue because I've just poured into this channel with money from my salary. However, it's going to be a lot more difficult moving forward, assuming I still have the time to be able to record and write some of these videos. My editor is fantastic, however, it is still very much an investment. My channel costs are about to skyrocket, especially starting in August, and especially if I'm trying to release a video every single week, let alone a video at the same length that I'm trying to make. You know, I'm trying to target videos around 30-ish minutes in length with a lot of information packed in. That's very expensive to make and edit. It might be cheaper if I'm doing week to week to do much shorter videos, and that's potentially an option that might happen. But as of right now, if I'm continuing on the current track, it's going to be challenging. And because this channel is not self-sustaining, that's an investment straight from my paycheck that I'm very lucky to be able to make right now. But I also have to be very smart and realistic right now. This cannot be a permanent or a long-term situation. So starting forward in August, I'm going to be moving over to my editor, and we'll see how these videos go for a little while. The assumption is that I still have the time to be able to research, write, and record and send to the editor and kind of coordinate these videos, while I'm also balancing my job, the reserves, my Patreon, working out regularly like a healthy adult, this channel as well, and also my marriage, because I do love my wife very dearly. It's a lot, but we're going to give it a shot. This all may end up being a non-issue. It may be way more manageable than I'm assuming it is right now, but I am planning for the worst case scenario where it's just not going to be feasible. So if anything has to be rolled back, it's going to have to be my upload frequency and potentially the length of these videos and the amount of information I can pack in. The first fallback is going to be bi-weekly uploads. The second is going to be monthly uploads. However, tentatively in there somewhere, I might slot in trying shorter videos and still continuing with the weekly upload frequency. However, we'll just have to kind of tinker around with that and see kind of how things progress. I will say that if we do have to fall back to any of these contingencies, I will be looking for ways to improve the quality to compensate for either the increased time between uploads or the reduced length of these videos. So stay tuned to all of this on my community page. For Patreon, I'm going to be moving the newsletter from Fridays to Saturdays, and that's probably better because this is covering the previous week, and oftentimes what's happened is I'll write my report, things will happen on Friday, and it will kind of not invalidate, but it will build on some of the stuff that I've recently talked about in that newsletter. And it's things seem to not happen as frequently on Saturdays is what I'm saying. So this is probably going to be a better fit anyway. However, I will be continuing to write these newsletters for my patrons until I don't have any patrons anymore. So don't worry, that's not going to be going anywhere. The frequency will remain as is, the style, everything's going to stay the same for Patreon. And in fact, if anything, you're probably going to be getting even more videos in advance on the Patreon as I build this backlog of videos with my editor. So if anything, this might be an improvement for you. However, with all that said, that is the plan moving forward. If you're watching this and you enjoy the videos that I make and you want to support this all in some way, here's a few ways that you can help. First, just liking, subscribing, and sharing these videos to friends that are also interested in geopolitics and international affairs. That really helps this channel immensely. I'm a very small channel, and YouTube doesn't exactly know who or what my audience is. It's still trying to figure that out, and that takes time. And that also requires a lot of data. And some of that data includes things like you liking, you engaging with, like through comments or subscriptions, and you sharing these videos with other people. That helps YouTube kind of build this idea of who my audience is, so whenever I publish a video, it serves that video to that audience. It's free to do. It doesn't really require a lot, but I really do appreciate that anyway whenever you do that. Commenting also really helps because that, at least for me, gives me an idea of what you are thinking and feeling with these videos, especially whenever you're commenting and engaging about the subject and the things that we're talking about in the video. That tells me that I picked a very good and interesting topic that we can all discuss. I've really enjoyed reading all the comments that people have been putting in these videos, especially, whenever they're engaging with each other in debate, and even whenever they're not really liking the video or me. Second, if you want those exclusive benefits and the weekly newsletter, do check out the Patreon. That will directly help pay for the editor and some of the other services on this channel. This is not a sales pitch for the Patreon, so don't feel like you have to do that at all. However, I will say that that is the best way to support in this case because that directly feeds into the way that this channel is actually sustained. My hope is that eventually the Patreon will be able to sustain the channel financially, and that'll allow me to continue to make these videos weekly, or really ideally even more frequently than just once a week, at progressively increasing levels of quality. The third way you can help is by letting me know in the comments of this video what you think about this whole situation, and whether you like this channel, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, if you find the information on these videos actually interesting or relevant or helpful. Do you have a preference for how often I'm posting, for the types of videos that I make, or the topics that I'm actually selecting? For example, I don't really get the impression that you guys like the videos about Iran, because those are consistently the worst videos on my channel. This could just be me or a number of other issues, but the statistics typically don't lie. So that's this video pretty much. Again, we're going to be back to regular content next week. I'm spending this week working on some other kinds of exclusive benefits for my patrons for the next few weeks, and that they will be receiving later this month. But I wanted to give you guys an update on what's going on and kind of what the future might be looking like for this channel. So if things end up switching up or changing significantly, you have an idea why. Thanks again to my patrons, the Malrus, James Crippen, and M. Lassiter. You guys, seriously, you guys are keeping the ship afloat right now. And if you guys want to help in the ways that I mentioned before, and if not, that's totally cool as well. I really appreciate you stopping by and checking this video out. But if you're interested in geopolitics and international affairs and want a deeper dive into a lot of the details that often gets missed in the news, then this is the channel for you. With all that, I'll see y'all next week. Later.